So I heard wholesaling's illegal now. It's banned. Everything's over, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been told that wholesaling's been illegal?
Since the day I stepped into this business, I remember the original title company and lawyers saying, "You better do it quick because they're going to make it illegal." And so they told me back in 2003, you should consider getting a real estate license. And here I am, 2025, no real estate license, never had a problem, and the same crap's going on right now again.
It happens all the time, right? And we get all these beginners getting into wholesaling, and they always say, wholesaling's become illegal. Cold calling's been illegal. All these things, and the cycle has perpetually continued, right? In wholesaling, where it's like wholesaling's bad, wholesaling's good, all these things, but it's 2025, and it is clearly the best time ever to get into wholesaling, by far, bar none. But whenever I get everyone telling me that wholesaling's illegal, this is bad, blah, all these obstacles, right? It's always to sell something, right? But we're not here today to talk about that, right? We're here to talk about how to get started wholesaling, how to get your first deal, how to make your, 100th deal, right? Mm-hmm. And really teaching everyone today and really sharing like how to get started in this business. Now, the thing about wholesaling is, anyone can make 50 grand the next month, right? I mean, we can do 60 grand in one deal, right?
Yeah.
A couple fat deals this month we've done, but this always comes back to the principle of finding a discounted house and then selling it to a cash buyer. This is what it is. And when people start deviating away from this is when things kind of get a little rocky. So, I want to talk to you, we're going to talk, for everyone, watching this here, but like, if you're getting started wholesaling in 2025, right, the game has fundamentally been changed since when you started versus when I started, right?
Yeah.
But the principle of finding a discounted property, right? So if someone's a brand new beginner, right, like how do you sit down like a 16-year-old kid, shake them down and explain about how they get started wholesaling?
Yeah, the easiest way is I always tell people, especially that are new to the business, to set your wholesaling compass. You gotta, if you don't know what you're looking for, you can't find it. So like if I was going to go to somebody's house, even in another state, if I didn't have an address and I didn't have a GPS or I didn't have a map, I would just drive around aimlessly. And that's what most people do in wholesaling. They're so fast to start it. Either they buy a course or do whatever there. And most people just look for people who want to sell a house.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the reality is we're looking for a particular type of seller. It's a very, very niche. And more people waste time messing around with the wrong type of people selling their house. You got to get laser focused. You've got to find people, what we call a motivated seller. And a motivated seller is simply someone, I developed an acronym for it, and it's called ODN. It's off-market, direct to seller that needs to sell.
Yeah.
And if you listen to those three things, as simple as it sounds, if you get a seller with all three of those, off-market, direct to seller needs to sell, you have a great shot at getting a great wholesale deal. Give me 2 out of the 3, you have a shot.
Yeah.
But you're in the right ballpark. 1 out of the 3, you're probably not going to make it. And honestly, I ask anybody that either is on the live with us or that I meet in person at our events, every one of their deals, I ask them, what's the ODN? And they're just kind of like, and I can tell quickly. The opposite of an ODN is going to, it's like a vehicle like MLS, talking to a realtor and somebody who just wants to sell. So the main difference between wanting to sell and needing to sell is they usually have some sort of leverage to get rid of the property.
Yeah.
So if I'm being foreclosed on, if I'm behind on my taxes, if a renter has completely trashed the property, like nobody chooses to be there. But what happens when they get there is they all want to fix it. And some people just don't have the stomach for real estate. And that's what you look for. In fact, 95% of most real estate washes through what? Realtors.
Yeah.
We are that special, maybe 5, I'd call it probably around 3 or 2%. And the first thing you have to do is set your wholesale compass. If you just sit there and talk to people that want to sell their house, which is what a lot of people do in FSBOs, and you can get deals off FSBOs. It's just not the most exact science because most people in a FSBO, they want what? They want to sell the house. How do I find people that need to sell the house? Set your compass, ODM, and then look for the smoke. We all need the fire, but you can't find fire without smoke. So how do you find smoke? Government list, talk to people that need to sell their house. I talk to title companies. I talk to probate lawyers. It goes on and on. Find someone who needs to sell their house and you got a shot at wholesaling. Why do we think somebody wants to put a house, maybe with a realtor that's in perfect shape? Why would they take a deep discount from a wholesaler like me? They have to have something that either the house is messed up or their personal situation's messed up. And either one of those is what we're looking for in wholesaling. If you do not find these, you get really busy. And I always say busy means broke. You're just running around doing things. Well, why would someone keep me busy? I don't know. You got to ask yourself, because if you don't know where to look, no matter what skill set that I teach you or you learn through freewholesaling.com, it's not going to work. In fact, most people get so frustrated talking to the wrong people, they quit this business. I'd rather you take all your effort in the marketing and the list and master marketing and find people that need to sell their house. And remember, the more direct you are to the seller, you can get the story behind it. And if it's off market, you don't have 500 people competing with you, because on market means whoever pays the most gets the property. We're going to do the complete opposite. So I always tell the first thing, set your wholesale compass. I'd rather you take 5 minutes look in the right direction than 5 hours in the wrong direction. You just waste your time. If you set the compass, you can find what you're looking for. But most people are trying everything, and they're trying MLS, and they're trying FSBOs, and they're trying to call realtors and all these other people. And I ask them, just ask somebody in wholesaling, what exactly are you looking for? And if you're not crystal clear on what you're looking for, you're never going to find it.
Well, that's the problem. You can do MLS. A lot of people like to go crazy innovations, all these different ways to cut deals. When the thing is, like, wholesaling real estate deals always are distressed sellers, always distressed properties, right? Mm-hmm. And the funniest part, you're talking about, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's like, well, how do I find houses that are smoking? Well, that one's pretty easy, right? So it's like, I like to do this, right? Like, you talk about this a lot, but this way I look at it is like, you can separate wholesaling like deals into motivated house versus motivated seller. And there's special lists the government pulls of both of these, right? So like, we want to talk about motivated house, code violations number one. Like, if no one's cutting the grass, if the window's caving in, if the roof's all messed up, the pool's disgusting, right? Like, that's a code violation. It's in the name. There's an issue with the house, usually a Karen or, sorry, Karen. Love all the Karens getting wholesaling, but like, your name's been hijacked, I'm sorry. But someone who usually call and complain that the house is ugly. Boom. Nobody really knows this, but like, your code enforcement, neighborhood services, whatever, right? They drive, tell me this sounds familiar. They get in their cars in the morning, 9 a.m. sharp, and they drive around the city and they look for ugly looking houses. Once they find an ugly looking house, they put it on a list. But guess what they do? That sounds just like driving for dollars, right? Yeah. But here's the best part. How do they make money? Well, when they put it on the list, they'll fine you $50 a day till it gets fixed. I wish I could do that on people. Like, can you imagine I find a guy, you're going to pay me $50 a day for the next 2 months? Like, I would love to. I mean, cha-ching, right? Yeah. But the government legally can do this. And they're like Santa Claus, because you can go to them and say, hey, give me that list of the ugly houses you found. And they legally have to give this list. And when you told me about this, I was a teenager, I was like, what? Like, yeah. And the funniest part about it was like, I remember when I was 17, to this day, I go online, I start searching code violations. Like, nothing on YouTube, nothing. And it's all, buy my course on code violation. It's just like, geez, man. And they're all 5-minute videos. I'm like, oh, right. And so the thing is, it's like, that's easy. But what about motivated person, right? Well, I mean, I personally think, right, pre-foreclosure is probably the closest thing to that, right? So it's like, if you're not paying your mortgage, you're probably having a financial issue. Maybe the house is fine, right? So on the outside, it looks good. It's kind of like health, right? Someone might be having really sick on the inside. The outside look good. Same thing with the house, right? The house might look nice, but the homeboy out here, he hasn't paid 3 mortgage payments. And that's how easy it is to find these deals. You just got to get the lists and market to them, right?
And understand this, that nobody chooses to be on these lists. Like, it's not a proud moment.
No.
And the fact that they're on these lists that's your smoke, and your job is to reach out to them and just see if they have interest in selling the property. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of investors make is they initially call and go, "Hey, I see your house is being foreclosed on. I want to help you out." No, just see if they have interest in selling the property. Like people on social media, they're not going to put their worst foot forward, especially to a stranger they don't know. And then the second part of it is you talked about the two different types of motivations. There's a motivated seller, like a person, and then there's a motivated piece of property or motivated house. Now, what's the difference? A motivated house is the house just looks rough. It's the gutters are falling down. There's a blue tarp on the roof, and the house just looks terrible. Okay. And then the other one, what's a motivated seller? This is someone that has a pressing financial issue, maybe a loss of job, maybe a death of a loved one, maybe a renter trashed the property. They don't know how to do the $30,000 repair. So if you get a motivated house and a motivated seller, it's pretty much a slam dunk as long as like you don't screw it up. But for the most part, most of the time we identify motivated properties or motivated houses. And then often we have a seller that's not quite accepted the truth with this. And so the key with connecting these people is, listen, I get it. Your house is vacant. You're going to have to go further than that. You have to get the seller to tell you the story behind the house, why it's vacant. And if they have a loss of job, is I want them to tell me what's going on. There's usually something that triggered it. If somebody's in pre-foreclosure, it usually indicates they have a financial problem, and we have to find out. And so as soon as you can get behind that story, that's how we unravel and help out sellers. And the sooner you can get the truth from the seller, the better off you're doing a deal. Remember, I don't want to go and find nice, pretty realtors, nice, pretty houses, and never deal with the seller. People want to sell their house. I'll keep busy for hours, pretty much the entire day, but I'm not going to get anywhere. I find people like the ones I was just talking about through these government lists, which you can get all at freewholesaling.com. Then I can have conversations to get behind the story of why they're on code violations, why they're on the pre-foreclosures, why they're in tax delinquencies, and then just figure it out. And that's how I get my deals. Listen, if I have to go on market, I'm just a regular cash buyer. And cash buyers, they get competitive. And the last thing I'm going to do is overpay or be the highest payer on any property. Guys, the key is finding motivated sellers and then finding motivated properties. And if you get them to join together, it is a slam dunk. But remember, nobody chooses to be on these lists, and you've got to find the story of how they got on that list, find their pain, and then offer them a solution by listening to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, let's talk about pre-foreclosure a second, right? Because, I got my ear around wholesaling a lot, right? I all these Facebook groups. I mean, we have the largest wholesaling Facebook group, Wholesaling Houses for Real, by the way. Everyone knows that, though. But let's kind of talk about pre-foreclosures for a second, right? You and I have read that Arizona pre-foreclosure lawsuit type thing, and
81 pages.
81 pages. It's kind of like everyone became a judge and a lawyer, and everyone's giving their opinions on this, right? And I've been seeing a lot of wholesalers saying, well, I'm just not going to market to pre-foreclosures anymore. And I'm laughing. I think it's hilarious because half the people read that lawsuit and they're like, oh, this means wholesaling pre-foreclosures is completely illegal. And the other people say subject to is now illegal and all these things. And so I want to get your thoughts on it. I mean, we were on the same company. So it's like, I already know exactly where we're doing pre-foreclosures. We're actually hitting them harder. But you've said the same things about pre-foreclosures for, on YouTube for 6 years? The same thing, right?
It's not going to change. Listen, if your intentions are bad or you're going to screw over the homeowner and not help them with their problem, you're done. I don't care what company you have. And it just, the person that's going to run you under the bus is the homeowner. So as a wholesaler, I don't care if you're creative financing wholesaler, whatever you are, if you're not going to listen to the seller's needs and you're going to try to hide behind a contract, it's going to blow up in your face. I've always told people, listen, anybody in pre-foreclosure, number one, read your state laws. They have special rights. And listen, nobody wants to be taken advantage of. The reality is, like in the state of Florida, they got 3 days. They can just cancel a contract. Let me go further. They can cancel it up to the day of closing. You can't make somebody in a distressed situation do something they don't want to do, because at the end of the day, they have to sign the deed over. And if they don't cooperate, it doesn't matter what you do. As far as everyone's interpretation, I believe, honestly, most people do an interpretation of their own bias, what they think that helps out their business. And that's a little bit of the problem with it. I've read all 81 pages of the lawsuit. They were just bad people. And keep in mind, this all started with a seminar. Like, I'm going to train you how to be a pre-foreclosure expert. Doesn't matter what you want. Like, realtors have all these certifications to help people in short sales and pre-foreclosure. Guys, it's just a course that somebody paid money for. So I never go around. I don't tell people I'm a foreclosure expert. I just listen to them. I look at the data on their problem and I see what they want and I see if I can craft a solution. And remember, if they don't hold my hand all the way up to the closing, the deal's not going to go through.
Talking about hands?
Yeah.
FYI, this person, I'm not going to mention them, but like, it's kind of funny, but like they made the company called Helping Hands Arizona.
Okay.
And they went to the sellers and said, we're Helping Hands Arizona. We want to help you stay in your house.
Yeah.
Like they pretended to be a charity when they door knocked. So like just FYI, like this is why they're going after them. Like that's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about this though, from a wholesaler standpoint. When you tell people, even a creative financing, if you did a subject to, when you start marketing to people, say, hey, you can stay in your house or you don't have to sell it, or I can give you all your cash and you keep your house. Guys, let's be brutally honest. You're lying to them. Like one investor goes, okay, I'll bail you out of foreclosure. I'll pay the $180,000 to catch your mortgage up and expect and you could just sit there forever. So I see people do this even in our local markets. They're like, hey, you can stay in the house. They're extremely vague about it. And they give them between 30 and 90 days, sometimes 6 months. And every time I see the seller is furious. And if that seller has to sit in front of a judge and say, I don't know why I'm being evicted out of my own home, it's going to go really bad for you. We've got to stop telling people lies. I don't buy houses that, hey, I need you to fix my problem with the house of pre-foreclosure, and I need to stay in here, and I need a below market rate rent. Who can do that? And so the problem is eventually somebody has to kick them out of the house. And some wholesalers well, I'm just going to sell the contract and my investor will kick them out. I think that's wrong. And I see a lot of people for a marketing advantage. But when you tell people they're going to stay in the house, unless you plan on keeping it and you want to write a private note or you just want to keep it as a renter, it's never a good idea to leave the current homeowner as the future tenant or renter in the house. It's going to be problematic with a judge. It's going to come back and blow up on you. And for that reason, anytime someone represents, hey, I can keep you in your house, it's like saying, hey, I'm going to give you lifetime access to my product or my software. It's a lie, and we all know it. And homeowners just hear, wait a minute, he's going to bail me out 6 figures and keep me in the home. You got to know something's coming down the pipe. Now they might go, well, I'm not. And then I see people go, well, I'm not going to evict you. My buyer might evict you, or you've got 6 months. And that buyer within 30 days is trying everything they can to get them out of there. And I've seen huge fights at title companies with investors like that. We've just got to start telling the people the truth. We don't mess with people when they go, I have to stay in the house. I go, I don't have a solution for you. I go, but I rather tell them the truth and have them come back to me. They realize I have to sell the house. I have to move on. This is our dream home. We can't afford it. Things didn't work out. And you're better off having the option to buy that house 3 or 6 months down the road than telling them a lie. And I think a lot of this comes into the marketing. If we start telling lies up front, we bait people in that normally wouldn't go forward with you. And then they went out and you go, no, you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And, I looked at this lawsuit, involved a lot of lawyers and title companies. And guys, the other thing I can stress in you is don't tell them they can stay in the house. And I just think you got to separate yourself from some of the title work and like the lawyer, whatever you do, and just listen. When they're asking for something, you can't ignore them. You got to go, hey, if they have a question, answer it. Because if your lawyer's not going to answer it and the title company is going to answer it, you, the wholesaler, is the most responsible person. And if you ever think you're going to hide behind a title company or a lawyer or your contract, you're going to get a rude awakening. I've never had someone upset with me that I bought a house. I've had people question it. I've had people delay them. I've let people out of contracts. But at the end of the day, if you're going to ignore them, it's just going to build up. It's going to get worse. And if you think you can hide behind the paperwork, I think it's a grave mistake. I think we're starting to overmarket people, making flat out lies to people. Yeah. And if you think you're going to tell them to stay in the house, or I'm going to save your house from foreclosure, it's problematic. I always help everybody out, no matter, even if I can't buy their house, because it's the right thing to do. And if you do the right thing, even if it doesn't work out with another investor, they'll remember that you told them the truth. You said this can't happen, and it all comes to fruition. And then they want to work with the person that told them the truth, and the person that built trust with them. And you can't build trust on anything on a lie. And guys, they did this on a mass scale, and you see patterns when people do this. And guys, I don't own a title company. I've a long time ago, I figured this out. When you start pushing a title company to do things they don't want to do, bad things can happen. I don't know any of the details, but I'm just telling you, when the title company goes, I don't know about this, you should listen carefully. So at the end of the day, if we just tell the sellers the truth, and there's just some things as a whole, wholesalers cannot tell people you can stay in the house. Unless you go, listen, you got 30 days and then you have to give out, and you have a post-occupancy agreement. That's how you do it. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out to your title company and have them help you out.
But, that's the craziest part, because I always told anybody, it's like, even if, and this is going to get on context, someone's going to make this clip and react to it and say, oh, Zach said it. Well, even if you had ill intentions in the wholesaling space, so, everyone says, oh, we should make these laws about wholesale. I'm like, no, we are governed by the U.S. Constitution and pretty much state laws. Mm-hmm. So if you fraud and deceive people, that's already a crime.
Yeah.
Done, right?
Yeah.
If you forge signatures, done, right? Mm-hmm. If you cloud title and you actually mess with somebody's ability to close, illegitimately, that's a crime. So I always follow just the laws of the land, right? But I always say, let's say you're a terrible person, right? And you wanted to let's say you're in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They just had a law in Tennessee, and then everyone thought wholesaling was illegal in Tennessee, and I basically had to make a video say no, it's not, because we do a lot of deals in Tennessee. But, we had that X-Leads Mastermind in Tennessee, and in LA, but we're talking with a bunch of Tennessee wholesalers, and, I'm talking to them the same way. I'm like, hey, what is your attorney saying that my attorney is not saying? And we all came to the same conclusion. You just give a disclosure in your contract, and you let the seller know that the contract is being assignable, or it's being assigned. They don't have to acknowledge it or sign an agreement saying, oh, I agree with it. No, they just have to know. But they know the closing's still happening. They don't care, right? But here's the thing. I love Tennessee as a great example. If you wanted, let's say, for example, to say, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to illegally wholesale this house in Tennessee. I'm not going to let anyone know. I'm going to do it the most illegal way that everyone thinks. Uh-huh. Guess what happens? Tennessee is an attorney state. Which means you have to close with an attorney. Here's the interesting part about these, attorney states with these wholesaling laws. You're just not the only one liable then if you break the law in Tennessee. The attorney is also liable. And attorneys have a lot more to lose than an 18-year-old wholesaler. So they're not going to let you do anything that is against the law. That's literally what attorneys are for, right? Now, are attorneys sometimes wrong? Yes. There are some, Better Call Saul attorneys out there. But for the vast majority, there's no problem. And if there is a problem, usually the burden mostly is on the attorney. Tell me if I'm wrong or not, but if we have an 18-year-old kid who doesn't know what he's doing and the attorney is guiding them, you're going to kind of blame the attorney, right? And so here's the funniest part. Everyone thinks it's illegal. I'm like, just use an attorney in Tennessee and they'll tell you what to do. Because everyone's giving their legal opinions. I go to attorneys and they say, no, you're good to go. Like South Carolina. I don't know the world. Remember we did 5 deals South Carolina right when everything was illegal? You know why? Our attorneys are like, no, you're good. I read the law. I don't care whoever taught you. We're actual lawyers. Mm-hmm. Whoever's telling you is not a lawyer. Now we're good to go.
Now, the truth is, if you brought in 10 attorneys, just non-related, spread out, and you asked them all 10 times, it would probably be 50-50. Half of them would tell you, it's illegal, I don't want to touch it. And the other half would go, you just need to disclose this, put this in your document paperwork, and it's perfectly, you're covered by federal law. And I've just learned over and over, I can go pick any attorney that tell me what's right. I want someone, in that state that does regular real estate deals go, hey, can I do an assignment if it's fully disclosed?
Well, you know something crazier? Who is the highest level attorney in the entire country? Do you know? Highest level. They have the most prestige. Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
How often does the Supreme Court have a 9-0 decisions? Pretty rare. It's always 5-4, 4-5. So even the best attorneys, Harvard, Yale, all went to Harvard, Yale, they're all split on a decision. So then just FYI for everyone about how attorneys and decision makings, because lawmakers pass a law, and now the judge is like, well, you enforce the enforcement, right? Yeah. You enforce the law the wrong way. The executive branch enforces the wrong way, and then the judge, like, checks and balances, right? Yeah. So if the legislator passes a law that's unfair, judicial branch says no, right? And unfortunately, I've always said this, I haven't found one guy in South Carolina, Tennessee, anywhere that's ever been hit with any wholesaling law, even in Illinois. I'm not not getting into, I'm not a lawyer, but it's crazy. But the reason we're going back to the Arizona lawsuit, we're going to get back into wholesaling, right, is the title company, apparently, according to the state of Arizona, allowed this guy to do the illegal things that they knew about. And according, this is alleged, I've heard that this law firm was actually coerced by the seller, and the seller lied to them about this. Guess what? They had their day in court to go defend themselves. It's pretty bad defamation right now. But you need a title company to be in on it, and the attorney. And apparently during this lawsuit, both of them were in on it. I tell you, my title company, our attorneys, sometimes they say, no, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you, right? But the reason is everyone says wholesaling is illegal. It's like, well, you need an attorney and title company to be in on it. They literally called it a conspiracy to go commit fraud. Absolutely crazy. As long as you have a competent title company attorney, you're going to be good. But we kind of went off the rails there. But getting deals, it's all about finding that smoke. And we talk all about lists, right? We get about probates, fire damage properties, drying for dollars. Just pull a regular lead list on X Leads, right? You get a deal anywhere. It's pretty. It's simple. You can pull a list on a paid list, or you get a free, but everyone's been to Wholesaling.com. They already know this, right? But if we're back in, 2025, it's the same way to get a deal as when I got started in 2016, 2017, when you got started, right in the early 2000s. If somebody has a distressed property or a distressed situation, you reach out to them.
That's it. Your highest skill set is in contacting the lead.
Yeah.
Which is the marketing phase. And I've always said this, I'm doing this 23 years. If you do not master marketing and wholesaling, you won't live, you won't survive. Mm-hmm. Now, at what's changed from 2003 to 2025? A lot. Technology moves faster. You can get pretty much anybody's info. The skip tracing is incredible. But the reality is, if you look from 2013 really to 2021, maybe 2022, is we had an anomaly in wholesaling. It's just, we had the market just ramped up like crazy. So during this, 8 to 10 year run, this crazy seller's market is, everybody looked like they were just the golden child of wholesaling. And these people had incredible runs. And now here we are in 2025. A lot of wholesalers have been flopping the last 3 years. Why? Because they weren't wholesaling. You could put a property under contract at a 5-10% discount and still get another 5-10% on it because demand was so high. That's an anomaly. That's not wholesaling. That's what we call speculating. So people I hear wholesalers saying, I went broke in 2022. The only way you can go broke in wholesaling is by not wholesaling. Wholesaling is the art of minimizing your risk and maximizing your reward. That's how the assignment of the contract works. The only way you can get killed if you break those rules and go into pure speculation. And so people, a lot of the people I've seen over the last 10 years that really ran it up with wholesaling, they're either struggling or they're out of the business. Why? Because they forgot how fundamentals work. So this is just like the stock market. If you don't understand the fundamentals of how stock works, how capitalization works, how price and earnings and all that fun stuff, you too are going to be a victim of it because you have to master it. Fundamentals of wholesaling is, where do I find the deals? What type of people do I want to get a deal under contract? And how can I move the property quickly? And here's the key. Have my investor, my cash buyer, make money off this deal. For about a 10-year run, a lot of the people buying the properties weren't even making that much money. And now here we are full back in 2025, and we have to look for deep discounted properties, and we have to find out what cash buyers really want. And for the last 10 years, we got rid of that. We were actually using words like, don't worry about cash buyers. They're a dime a dozen. You know, like just burn through them as fast as you can. And here we are right now. The people that I see having success are the ones that went back to the fundamentals. Find motivated sellers and only focus on people that need to sell their house. It's that simple. Because 2013, 10 years after that, honestly, it wasn't that hard to make money. And now that you're in a more balanced market, there's much more sellers than buyers. Listen, I've always made money in wholesaling. I don't care if I've been in a buyer's market or a seller's market. And remember, I went through 2008, 2009, 10. I mean, the worst real estate market on record. And then 2013 to the 10 years plus that, the greatest market on record. Yeah. And I made money in both markets. Why? I understand the fundamentals of wholesaling. When you start to get cute and you use these little niche things, that's fine. But always do your complementary wholesaling. Look for the motivated sellers, the pre-foreclosures, the tax delinquencies, the code violations, the probates. It's not rocket science. Those people always need to sell. If you want to pick up like a gravy piece and you got a hot seller's market, that's great. But as soon as you shift and make that your business model, you'll be out of business as a wholesaler. And so we've seen this kind of resurgence, this reinventing of wholesaling. And it's like the kids going out there doing what we tell them to do. They're doing door knock, reverse driving for dollars. They're pulling all these government lists. They're getting beat up trying to get these lists because there's a lot more competition for it now. Why? Because fundamentals work. And if you don't understand fundamentals in wholesaling, you're going to be out of business quick. You cannot lose money if you stick to the fundamentals of wholesaling. You can always add to it. A lot of people go, well, I started out as a wholesaler and like, I'm too good to do that anymore. I just laugh. I've been doing this 20, 30 years. The core of my business is always wholesaling. And then I will do other things that make me money, buy and hold properties, do some commercial stuff. But for the most part, don't forget the skill set that made you the most money and got you financially free. A lot of people that are doing wholesaling or teaching wholesaling have got away from the basics. And it's like, here's the problem with wholesalers. We're such good marketers. Yeah. We sometimes use it as a weapon. And I know this is somewhat controversial, but like when we start creating systems and go, listen, all you have to do is reach out to all the real estate agents that have properties in this area or 3 months down. I'm not saying you can't get a deal on MLS, but as a starter, it's, in my opinion, the worst place. It will keep you super busy. So if I was going to like keep you busy, I'm going to send you everybody who wants to sell the house because you'll seem really busy for 3 months. I'd rather you just spend, honestly, instead of spending 5 hours, I'd rather you spend 5 minutes and call people on the pre-foreclosure list. It's that valuable. And
I hate calling pre-foreclosure.
But we have to understand, guys, like a lot of the lists you guys are calling on are people that just want to sell their house, and most likely they need a realtor or they need another year or two for the market to soak into it.
Okay, so speaking of people, I'm not mentioning people specifically, right? There's like, I've seen 15 or 20 of these takes of like, wholesaling is like low level, getting started, and then you start getting up the ladder of being a real estate investor. And I've never prescribed to that theory because I've always had this uncommon view of how to scale up in wholesaling that no one has ever done. And, I'm going to tell everyone what it is. I mean, we both have kind of looked at the same way. It's crazy because no one's looked at the same way that we have. But everyone looks at it as, okay, make 300 grand wholesaling, then you get into house flipping, then you get into, crazier house flipping, then you start developing, and now you're a real man. It's absolutely hilarious to me because outside of wholesaling, once you start going up this tier list, you start adding debt. And I don't care, like to start making a ton of money in the real estate business, you got to start adding debt. But it gets to a point where I always look at percentages because I'm very analytical with this. Is there a certain percentage where I start adding on debt that if the whole economy collapses, 2008 2.0 happens, could I lose everything? And every single, outside of wholesaling, it's all there. Like if I decide I'm going to put all my money into this crazy skyscraper, crazy big boy development, and I leverage it up the wazoo, and now real estate goes down because we know this happened in Florida, 50, 40%. You've seen Cape Coral. You could lose everything. And when the scariest thing possible is when a bank calls your loan due and you got nothing. And one example, and no one ever believes this is a real thing, because it really didn't happen in 2008, but like Dave Ramsey talks about this. His loans got called due on his real estate, and that's why he lost everything. That's why he's all anti-debt. And you could build it all up and lose everything still. And the way that I view wholesaling is you can make 30, 40, $50 million a year wholesaling houses if you know how to scale it the right way. Most people look at a vertical, no, they look at a horizontal view of scaling it. Well, to make more money, we have to add more markets and get a bigger office. And then you kind of look at it like that. And that's not how the whole world has ran anymore. Like, even if you look at how like they built Twitter out, where they have like 50 employees at most when Elon cut all those people out, because it's virtual. Like, the best part about like virtual businesses and stuff like this, it's infinitely scalable, right? So that's why I like Wholesaling.com. I can have 58,000 extra people join it. There's gonna be no problem. Yeah. I can have 50,000 people watch this video, no problem, because we can scale it, right? But if I have to individually write 50,000 emails, not good, right? Yeah. But the way that most people look at it is like, okay, we get 5,000 employees, and then you go, rah, rah. And have you seen anybody with over 300 employees in a wholesaling operation?
Yep.
It just, there's a certain point where the sucker break, the whole thing breaks. It gets insane. Like, you see these stockbrokers, Jordan Belfort, like, to have 300 stockbrokers, it gets crazy, right? What we have found is, this is kind of nuts, but it's like, well, why don't we vertically integrate? Everyone horizontally integrates. And what I mean by this is, well, there's 3 ways to get wholesaling deals that so we personally have 3 wholesaling real estate businesses, right? We have a local wholesaling business, locally around here. We have a virtual wholesaling business. That's pretty much what everyone knows. So most people have to virtually go crazy on that, right? And there are economies of scale. There's only a certain amount of deals and markets you can do. But the third one, which we didn't know this was a thing till it started happening, were JVs. And then, I remember sitting you down like 3 years ago, and I researched really hard. I've talked to, if you make over $4 million a year wholesaling, I probably have talked to you on my phone. I pretty much have most of them on my contacts. I've at least had some sort of conversation with them. And I always ask them, like, who's the biggest wholesaler? 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 And I found out that the top 5 wholesalers in the entire country, which you don't even know what their faces look like, all JVs. All JVs. Not all in the top 10, but most of them are just JV. Like, massive volume. So why don't we get in the game? That's kind of what we've done, right? Now, the thing about what was always fun about YouTube is, like, we started just teaching wholesaling, right? The reason I made the YouTube channel was like, you taught me for free. Thank you. And so I felt guilty because I had this crazy unfair advantage. Like, you taught me free. You spend a lot of money to learn wholesaling. And then the game's supposed to be, well, now you teach people, but you have to, if you had to spend 50 grand, then they have to spend 50 grand for you, right? That's the game. Well, you taught me for free, which is unfair. But I said, well, why don't we teach the people for free then? Since I got the unfair advantage, I'm going to give you the unfair advantage. So you guys get here. But the thing about it is, we started teaching people in wholesaling. People was like, well, we have a deal. Do you have a buyer in Port St. Louis? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, we live in, Massachusetts. Yeah. Like, okay, well, JV. I remember our first JV deal. You were like, what? I'm like, yeah, I kind of did behind your back too, because I don't think you'd like that. But like, it was like, okay, it was like a $40,000 deal, and they got 20, we got 20. And then the first thing you said, I don't know if you remember, you're like, we didn't have to call anyone. We didn't have to text anyone. We spent $0 in marketing, $0. And we got $20,000 from that.
Yep. And
how long it took me 2 hours. Like, it was like 30-minute phone call, hour for the walkthrough, 30 minutes to go to the closing, just to make sure everything was smooth. Yeah. Like, whoa.
No, it opened my eyes, because I've always been, I got 7 years. I went on every appointment. I did everything. And I'm not overly proud of it, but honestly, I believe I was put in that position so I could get enough experience to help everybody out.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I just put my head down 7 years and I did it. I wish more people would take that attitude in wholesaling, because everybody wants to seem to create a course overnight. But the reality of it is, that I spent too long doing it. So now we have people that just, I want to do 3 deals and I want to teach it. Or then someone goes, hey, I do this over the phone. I show everyone how to do it. Well, there's a certain point that you want to get to in wholesaling where you can scale it. And a lot of people think of scaling as taking on more and more markets. It's not. Here's the most valuable thing you can learn as a wholesaler. Learn how to market. Once you learn how to market, you can get some social media influence. And really, social media today is advertising. A lot of people don't understand. Me and Zach, we don't spend, listen to me very carefully. I think we're the only wholesalers that do this. We don't spend a dime on advertising. I want everybody, not one dime on advertising.
Well, you're correct in the actual sense of it. But I mean, you also remember, we got 5 full-time video editors.
No.
We have, it's pretty expensive to run
staff,
this.
but I'm just telling you is people often think they initially have to pay Facebook, they have to pay Google. And like in the beginning, guys, just put the microphone in there if you have value and teach people and stop trying to be an overnight YouTube sensation. Everybody, if you're not there to help people out and maybe sharing deals, then don't do it. I see more people who start it 3 months, 6 months, and they go, oh, it didn't work out the way I wanted to. Listen, I put in like
6 years.
It's 6 years, guys. And like, I didn't look to get paid. Why? Because I treated it like a marathon. And here's the problem is everybody wants an instant hit. Yeah. So I have the ability now to communicate with hundreds of thousands of people. And it took time to do that. But that is my marketing outreach. That's my ability to market. And we do hundreds of deals with people all over the country that I would have zero chance to do if we did not come up with this JV opportunity. Now, it's been a challenge in learning how to do it in all the other markets, but it's also helped us understand the obstacles everybody else has to go throughout. So I'm used to Florida and like the Southeast, but when I do a deal in California or New York, I'm just like, I'm always shocked at the fees and I got to do this. And thank God I have someone who helps me do all this stuff. But guys, your power, your ability to market is everything. And those people that master it early, meaning you figure out how to connect with a motivated seller, you put your time in, you record some content, hell, document your journey. It's really special. I had Zach document his journey when he was in high school while he was working as a bag boy, because nobody ever taught me how to do that and go back in time. And once you do that, then you can use those marketing skills that you thought were so basic and stupid, and now you can use them for a higher level. Keep wholesaling. If you're so good at wholesaling, why would you ever sell the business, which we know how that works? And why would you step away from the business? If you're truly running and scaling a business, you shouldn't be in the daily operations anyways. You should be in the marketing aspect to attract other wholesalers, to help them get their first deal and help them share in the profits for you. And that's what we found out about this. Now I have access doing deals in all 50 states. I just got to teach you guys my basic skill sets to find motivated sellers. And I don't charge you for it. I have to give you the truth. Why? Because I have to get deals. I don't have time to play around. And I know, I already tell everybody, if 100 people go to freewholesaling.com, I know there's 5 or 7 that are actually going to take full advantage of the opportunity. What happens to the other ones? I don't feel guilty about it because number 1, I don't charge. And number 2, I do not overhype it. And once they get in there and they understand, the ones that truly go, oh my God, this is an amazing opportunity.
But I still don't think people should do YouTube. I think it's just way too much work and it really takes away from wholesaling. So the one thing I will tell everyone to do, if you are crazy about YouTube, I do give everyone this advice. If you're cold calling, just record all your cold calls and then just post them. And I don't say that to get YouTube views. I just say that because then you can show me, hey, Zach, here's 360 days of cold calls in a row.
That's awesome.
And then I'm like, well, are you broke? No, I haven't found one. It's always, they do 30 days and 31. Can't do it, right? And so the thing about it too is like, well, why don't you just get cash buyers? Just go to xleads.com, get a free trial. You can pull 1,000 free cash buyers. Now you have all these buyers. Boom, done. Now you go back into zachdiscord.com or freewholesaling.com. Who needs help finding buyers? JV. Guys, we have a JV agreement at freewholesaling.com. So you can JV with anyone. I don't even get a cut on it. I'm really giving this so you can JV without, like, I lose money doing this. I could get plenty of JVs, but I'm letting you guys do it too because I truly believe I shouldn't be the only one on this gravy train of JVs. But that way of, we can get sent in 10, 15 contracts a day. Now we got to underwrite them, but like those how many deals we're getting in on the JV side, and we're dispoing a lot of them. So it's like, that's a lot of money for us. And yeah, of course, that's why we're running this YouTube. That's why we're doing well, right? And it's pretty fun. And so I get to make a ton of money. I get to teach you guys, and everyone makes money and do well. Feels great, right? And I say this all the time, but like, Zach, I get this all the time. Why don't you do coaching and all these? And, we've experimented with different things in the past.
Yeah.
But we've always stuck to the guns of everything free because I have personally found that I make way more money doing everything for free. And it was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if we have a $30,000 wholesaling deal on a JV, I will spend approximately 30 minutes on that deal. You spend another 30 minutes, so about an hour of both of our times. And then our staff, they might put 15, 20 hours into it, but I just pay them, right? Yeah. And so I get $15,000 for 30 minutes of my work. Or really 7,500 because you have to take the other half. So, but like, I personally will net $7,500 for 30 minutes of my time, which I think is pretty much worth it. And then my staff does the rest. And that's it. Versus if I had a coaching student for 15 grand and I had to do an hour Zoom with them every single week for a year straight. Oh, that sounds like torture. Like that person will get a great deal. 15 grand for an hour a week of my time is amazing, but it's a job because I did the math. Do you know how many 1 hour Zooms per week of a student you can do? 40. 40. That's it. You get 40. You got to run a business after that, right? Yeah. So I can choose to have 40 students or choose to have, over 250,000. Pretty simple, right? I got to scale it out. And so the thing is, that's how the new age of the wholesalers who are going to make 20 million, 30, 40, 50 million, they're going to integrate the JVs. Now, we do have a pretty big advantage. Has the audience as big as ours, especially if you look at Facebook groups. We get more views on all of our channels than any other YouTube channel, just because we have so many YouTube channels. It's crazy. And we have the largest Discord, most engaged, #1 valuable community Discord out there, ZachDiscord.com. It's just with the sheer amount, because again, this comes back to one fundamental thing. We're the only ones that teach wholesaling for free, which is crazy. But going back to marketing, right? I think you had a really good point of marketing is the most important. And I've really been thinking really hard this past couple months about why is marketing so important? Because I hear people say dispo is most important or acquisitions. And it dawned on me pretty dang quick. Marketing is the most important part about wholesaling because a business has three things: marketing, product, and customer service. Customer service isn't really, I call that acquisitions, but okay. So in wholesaling, we have marketing and a product, right? And we sell a product to a cash buyer. But like the thing about it is the product us wholesalers can provide to a seller is the same. Like, there's no difference. So for example, you and I are separate wholesalers and we have Sally Sue over here, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to offer 100 grand to buy your house. You're going to offer 100 grand to buy your house. Who wins? Right? Maybe the guy that better at acquisition, but here's the truth. If we both see a seller who wants to sell their house, who's going to win? The person who goes to the house first. 98% of the time, that's it, right? Now you can say, well, acquisition, I don't care how good of acquisitions you are. If you get there before the other guy like a week ahead, you win. If you're just at least bare bones at acquisitions, you win. Speed is going to be way better than acquisitions, right? As long as you don't suck. But that's why the best wholesalers are the best marketers, because the products are always this. And probably if, let's say it's me versus let's say you're a regular wholesaler, my product is actually worse because an 18-year-old kid only wants to make 5 grand on a day. He does not care. He just wants to make 5 grand. Me, I want to make 30. So my product to the seller is maybe you, Johnny, are at 120 grand to the seller. I'm at 100. So my product's worse. But how do I beat Johnny out if my product's worse than yours? Marketing. Yeah. Marketing. 101. Is a Mercedes-Benz any better than a Toyota Camry? And do not give me the luxury. No, it is $600 for an oil change? It's insane. Okay, don't tell me about durability and the quality of a product, right? It's marketing, right? Mm-hmm. It's gangster. Oh, I'm my Maybach. That's it. A Lamborghini is not any better than if you got like a really nice AMG Mercedes or something, or like a Porsche, right? But the Lamborghinis and the marketing is better, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why marketing is always the most important part. Your product is going to suck for a seller because you are getting the lowest price possible. That's how you do it, right?
Yeah, the marketing, it's everything in wholesaling. Honestly, if it's the one thing you can master, when I started out wholesaling, I didn't even sell my own product for the first 18 months because I didn't have the confidence and like I didn't care. I know that sounds terrible, but a lot of people made money off of me. By the way, those same people I sold those houses to were other wholesalers. They're not in business anymore. You know who's in business? The guy who knows how to market. And they laughed at me because like, you're really good at getting deals, but you know how to sell them. What they didn't understand is I spent all my energy on trying to find motivated sellers. And like, I went deep, guys, every list, every type of way I could get it. I did everything old school back then because I didn't know any better. But I'm here to tell you, a lot of people in this business tell you it's all about the sales training. It's sales training. Guys, listen, you have to find lists and find the motivated sellers. OD, an off-market direct seller, needs to sell. And then you need to get there first. And then once you get there, as long as you don't screw it up and you use your ears, and there's only 3 things that every seller wants from you. It is absolutely proven. It's fact. Number 1, they want to connect with you. How do you connect? If you turn your script into a conversation, you're connecting with them. How do I know I'm connecting? Do you have the same conversations, is the same flow as your friends? Well, how do I do that? Well, it's real simple. It's called this thing building rapport, and you have to be your true authentic self. Everybody knows when you're fake. You can only fake it so long if you're going to sit with a seller 30 minutes or an hour on the phone or in person. So once you do that and it's flowing, the only last piece you have to figure out is trust, and you have to earn it from the seller. If you can be your authentic self, connect with them, and trust, I'm telling you, they will sell you your house. I don't have magical words to teach you how to close them. If I did, I would. My magic is in the marketing piece and connecting with these people. And check this out. When you connect with them, just be your true authentic self and solve their problem by listening to them. And if you guys would do it in that order, you will never have a problem wholesaling. If you're going to be the slick used car salesman and you think you're going to outsource all your marketing, God bless you, because you're going to have to make the highest bid because the seller doesn't want to get you to know you. The way you and me teach it, the way I taught you, is connect with the seller, solve their problem, build trust, and help them out. That's it. If you just want to be a cash buyer and you want to remove yourself from the marketing, you better have deep pockets, capital, and remember, you're not wholesaling, you're speculating.
There you go. That's the truth, right? It's always about cash buyers. I think cash buyers have just gotten easier and easier and easier with the advent of software, Facebook group, Zillow, right? Mm-hmm. But again, we can go in circles about for wholesaling.com, just how to find cash buyers. I think Zillow, I think XLeads is the best one for it, obviously. There's all these other different websites and softwares coming out now about how to find buyers, how to get deals. Like there's too many for me to count or talk about now, but like they'll all honestly get you a deal. Like some are better than others, right? I think XLeads is really good, but there's other softwares that are like, half as good as XLeads. You're still going to get deals doing it, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not going to be the end of the world for you. But the thing about it is it always comes down to the same thing. Find ugly houses and then sell to a cash buyer. This is what it is. And the wholesalers that have been around for a very long time have always followed this thing. They don't go to different things. They don't go to the new hip thing, because the new hip thing always kind of teeters off, right? Yeah. And this is why we always, I get told, Zach, you say the same thing a lot. I'm like, I don't think I do. I think I say maybe different versions of the same thing. But like, have you ever seen those like be a man influencer guys, right? Like be a man, they say the same thing too. Ready? Don't make excuses. Take control of your life. Yeah. They take a little Stoic philosophy, and usually they say something mean about women, right? But like that's usually it, right? And it's like, be a man. David Goggins says the same thing. Don't be a loser. Suck it up. That's 98% of his message. But my message too is like, we have new things, right? I think what's really exciting this year is email blasting. I kind of unveiled how we can do like 30,000 emails every single month. That goes inbound. We actually got, I think we got a couple JV deals from people doing that now. It's amazing. Like, it's insane. Right. Send 30,000 emails. It's absolutely going to change the way we look at wholesaling, right? But if you want to get deals, you got to find ugly houses, right? And, we got the shelf here. I always love looking at the shelf because you're all old sales books from the 70s, sales books, wholesaling books from the 70s and the 60s, right? And the message has always been the same. Now, there's always going to be new things coming in, and I always warn people about the new wave wholesaling's here. I saw some person, said wholesaling's dead, everything's cold calling's dead. This is the new way, and of course I'm a troll. So I went and go there. I'm like, okay, what's this new thing? It's like YouTube ads. I'm like, well, YouTube ads isn't like a bad strategy. The ROI is probably not there, right? And the one thing I would tell everyone in wholesaling too that I found, and I think you found this too, is if you rely just on one thing, it could break. Even through direct mail, right? Like we had...
If. It will break.
And you have to have a backup. Like for example, for direct mail. So let's actually talk smack about your favorite marketing channel, right? There was this one post office in the United States that shall not be named, but they were a month behind on their mail forever. And if you sent mail through this post office, this is USPS, not a company, USPS.
Yeah.
Your deal rate cuts in half. So even direct mail can have this issue.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I see it everywhere, right? I was talking to this one guy. It was so funny. He bought 180 PPL leads. And he was like, I couldn't close one. Well, he closed one, but and the deal fell through. And I'm like, well, why did you stop doing it? He's like, well, the lead went from 100, then the leads were like 200, now the leads are like almost 400. It's like, I'm like, yeah. Like, if you have one deal source, PPL, it could be 600 starting tomorrow. Well, they're actually starting to cold call now, so whatever, right? But that's the craziest part. Like, if you just focus on one channel, it could all blow up. Cold calling is the only one that I haven't seen to do that, because cold calling has been a thing since the 40s, 50s. I mean,
Since they had phones.
Since they've had phones.
Yeah.
Texting, texting it went in the dungeons for a while until they figured out how to do texting for pretty dang cheap at, actually ninja mode. But you should always have at least 3 or 4 marketing channels if you're consistently getting deals. And the only thing I found in wholesaling that is consistent is change. That's pretty much it. And the whole market's changing too. And we just got to be prepared. Like, even recording this video, right? This is late April. This is coming out, right? Tariffs don't seem like, they paused the tariffs for 90 days. So I don't think it's going to be like the massive real estate change, right? We saw a bunch of deportations. I was a little worried that was going to affect how people are building houses, but that hasn't really had a big effect, which is nice. But interest rates are getting weird, right? Jerome Powell's fighting with the president, says where interest rates going to go. And the thing is, the real estate market is going to change. A year from now, it's going to be probably different. My guess, it's going to be up or down a couple percent, which doesn't affect some. But you've seen it for 20 plus years. I've seen it for 8 years. If it goes up, down, sideways, we're making money. You just got
moving, man. That's my favorite part.
As long as it's moving. The worst part of wholesaling is when it kind of goes here, there, whatever.
So
but
keep in mind, someone who speculates, they have to try to predict what's going to happen a year, if not 2 years down the road. A wholesaler, because you just got to figure out within 30, maybe 90 days, that's your window. That's why we eliminate the risk. So the only time you ever get in trouble, in my opinion, in real estate is when you go outside that. Now, some people like to do the fix and flip. That's fine. I'm just telling you, I did fix and flip for a short time. You'll find out why you want to get out of it real quick. There's a lot of undetermineds. The nice thing about wholesaling is you minimize your risk because you're doing it now. You maximize your reward. Yeah. I have ADHD. I get I like doing the deal and I get bored with it. I hate the fix and flip. Unless it's personal, I'm beyond bored. And I've never seen a fix and flip ever come in budget and ever come in on time and not have massive problems. And remember, you're passing that off to the next person. And that's what I love about wholesaling. And some of you guys get really excited. Oh, I'm going to do a fix and flip. It will be the most expensive one of your life because you have to stop wholesaling. And then you're going to have all this undetermined risk coming out. termites in the wall, you got to fix it. It's like open heart surgery. You got to go in there and fix it. So if you stick to the core of wholesaling, you really can't go wrong. And then you can build out from there. But people have to stop mixing up wholesaling and speculating. And with these change in interest rates and markets, us wholesalers, we're fine with it. If you're trying to speculate, maybe I don't buy now, maybe the interest rates are off, or maybe I can't sell it. I'm not selling at the end. I'm selling it to a cash buyer taking over my position. That's what wholesaling is all about.
It's focus on that, right? There's a reason why we don't talk about religion. We don't try to touch on politics unless it affects real estate.
Yeah.
But like we don't get into like marriage advice or relationship. Like I see all these like people throwing all these things. Like
it's just fillers. Like listen,
all filler.
Like
your religion is not. This is a hot take, but your religion is not going to affect the way you wholesale. I mean, ethics should be an ethical thing, right? Do the right thing, but like,
person or you're not.
But like, so many people like to throw in all these things of why you can't wholesale or not. It's like, guys, just focus on getting a deal. We don't talk about anything else except for that.
Yeah, that's it.
But the one thing I want to add is, ADHD for you, right? I never had this problem. Yeah. I've always been the guy that can sit down for 9 hours and just go crazy on the most boring thing ever. Yeah. Because it's about making money for me. How do you deal with it, right? Because you get a lot of, this is shocking for me. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I had the same thing as you. And they really relate with you. But like, can you talk about it for a second?
Yeah. I spit it out by accident. And you and me talked about this before. Should I share it or not?
If they hang out with you for 5 minutes.
No, but it's, I wasn't even really diagnosed like until my 40s. Like,
I don't think anyone diagnosed you. You self-diagnosed.
No. Everybody diagnoses me online. But like the bottom line is, I knew when I was a kid, I learned differently. I questioned just about everything. And I constantly tested every boundary. I was perfect as a wholesaler. And I remember my teacher saying, Ricky, you're never going to get a good job. And it really bothered me all through college, all my 5.5 years through college. And the really cool thing at the end, she was right. She was 100% right. I was never meant to work for other people. And I worked for a lot of people. So I did a corporate job for almost 12 years, about lost my mind and lost my sanity. And I just learned that I learn different and I have a different attention span. So somebody with ADHD can go very deep with a person. That's why I'm so good with motivated sellers. But if you give me an entire business plan and go this and this and that, I can't do it. So think back when I started out wholesaling, I only focused on finding motivated sellers and marketing.
Wait. You didn't listen to 6 podcasts? You didn't read 50,000 books before you started?
I didn't. And a lot of people go, well, Rick, you paid to learn your way. The people I paid to teach me wholesaling was some of the worst teachings I have ever witnessed in my life. I was so desperate and wanted to succeed so bad. After I gave my money, I found out and I saw their rinky-dink course and I instantly figured out this person doesn't even wholesale. I decided to go figure things out on my own. How did I do it? I went to local investor groups. There were actual meetings. We didn't call them meetups back then. And then we went to RIA events, Real Estate Investors Associations. And I wanted to figure it out as fast as possible. And I found out everybody who was offering a course, it was like a shell game. Some of them had value, but you never knew. And it was all a timing thing. And they take advantage of a lot of people. And so my ADHD was wonderful for me, like connecting with sellers. I'm an empath. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But when it came to the entire business, it was a bit of a train wreck. And honestly, I navigated through. Your mother helped me out with a lot of it. I hired employees. I wasn't great at managing employees. And then by the time you came along and started getting involved in the business, I was making a ton of money. I didn't really have a problem with it.
You were making millions though.
No, but I was doing very well.
You were doing well, but you were investing in doing well.
And I had a lot of properties.
But the growth was not there.
Yeah. And so the growth is when we looked at cold calling and RVMs.
Well,
and all
the growth really was, I'm like, well, you're making a lot of money. Like you're clearing a lot of 6 figures here.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, like the problem is your net worth kept going up, obviously, because you're making money and then you're investing it, which is nice. But like that's not business growth. Like your net worth growth, which is great, not bad. But I'm like, well, you're constantly making the same amount. It's like, well, what are you doing? You're like, I'm just doing direct mail. I'm like, well, why don't we just try texting?
Yeah.
Why don't we try cold calling the same list? Just give me $300. I'll do it all. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
This is where you really, as an investor, you have to bury your ego, because at the time I'm listening to a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he's my son. And a lot of people think like...
I was 19
Okay,
at the
but
time.
people understand teaching your kids the trade of what you do.
I was a college graduate. I was a big shot.
It's not that easy to do.
No.
And a lot of people think, let's get this one out there, like they think I put a silver spoon in your mouth. I'm going to tell you.
Well, you didn't believe me on the texting. I had to physically take that list you had and text it myself. And I'm like, here's the deal. Oh. Boom.
So it's, you've got to understand, for somebody with ADHD, for like me, to take advice from a teenage kid, it takes a lot, but it also shows you can learn from anybody. And a lot of people, they dismiss you because of your age. And remember when you first started wholesaling, you go, I think I'm having a problem with my age. And I remember just saying, Zach, it's only a problem if you acknowledge it and think it's a problem.
I agree.
And then we taught you some basic words to get it through. And guys, I made him buy his own signs. I made him go on all his appointments. I made him do the marketing stuff, the texting. I did not put a silver spoon in the kid's mouth. And listen, if you ever want a business partner in wholesaling, you have to find someone that can at least double your book of business. That's it. That's the only stress test to have a partner.
We tripled it.
And I brought on a lot of partners that were nightmare relationships, find out they weren't going to do anything. So when this kid started doubling my book of business and things were really started exploding, it's crazy. You bring good people in. Yeah, is he my son? Does it helpful? Yes. I've had a lot of bad business partners. Part of my ADHD, and let me just wrap it up with the ADHD. It is perfect for wholesaling, but at some point you'll have to get some help. Like, I let the bookkeeping get way on the other side, and I learned the hard way, and I've gone through the pain of fixing that. I've learned on getting employees to organize our business and do everything. I've learned how to work with lawyers, accountants, the whole 9 yards. And that to me is the struggle part. But that's a lot where, Zach helps me out with a lot of stuff. He's like, Zach, remember, he goes, hey, we can go online, we can show everybody wholesaling. I go, people are crazy out there. Like, I don't think you understand how the teaching business goes.
No.
We have a different idea.
No. This is what happened. Yeah. I put a camera behind you, which was my phone, by the way, because that's how fancy I was. And I said, just tell people about probates. And then I saw the video. I'm like, why don't you tell them about what to say to the probates? And you're like, why would I do that? Yeah. Then I'm like, whoa, hey, you got to tell them. Like, act like you're talking to me. It's like, but someone in the market could use that. I'm like, you got to give it out for free. No, we're getting 2 views a video. We got to try something. Yeah. And from there, it was kind of like you didn't believe me. Not that you didn't believe me, but it's like, well, if I just made 40 grand in the month from just doing that direct mail list that you already paid for, it's like, well, your ego is like, well, he made 40 grand doing this. Well, like, oh, maybe I should listen to him. It's not even like, you have to be stupid to have me make 40 grand on that list in a month. But I go, okay, well, let's keep trying that out. Same thing with me on the YouTube channel, right? A lot of people were dismissing me on YouTube, 18, 19-year-old kid on YouTube. But when I'm saying, hey, I'm Zach, I'm 19, here's $50,000 I just made, you can't deny that. You can't. And that's how the channel blew up. But like, you can't deny a 19-year-old making that much money. And you can't deny me to this point of all the deals we show that, like, it's true. And then you can't deny how many people that we've taught to become millionaires in this business, right? It's crazy. But ADHD is crazy, and you overcame it.
And so a lot of people use it. Oh, I have ADHD. I can't do that. It's just a superpower. Just use it. No, you can go deep. You have to micromanage some of the stuff you do. Sometimes he'll give me a long list. He's like, okay, just do the first 2 things, and I'll check back up. And I like, as something goes on your mind, you go, oh, okay, I can handle that. And that's how I look at it. Is if I have 1 single appointment or 2 and I meet with them, I'm fine. You give me 8 people, I start thinking of 8 different conversations. That's my world of ADHD. That's how I learned it. I don't know how it wound up. My parents stuck me with it. But if you're ever considering it's ADHD and wholesaling, I think it gives you the ability to focus deep. You just got to you have to figure out how to compartmentalize if you feel overwhelmed, because that's the biggest problem with ADHD. When you get overwhelmed, you just pull back and just go, I'm just going to sit here until I calm down. And if you have help, which you've been a tremendous help with me, everybody in my family is, once you understand what you have, but I don't use it as an excuse. I use it as a superpower. And the more people you can connect deeply, you'll do better. So if you have ADHD, wholesaling is perfect for you.
Here we go. So guys, Bags to Riches podcast is back. We have done a new podcast with you in it, which is pretty cool. And let me know, guys, do you like this podcast style? We want to change it up a little bit. You know, we used to do like video style. We do a live stream style, but like not like a podcast type thing. And so I thought it's pretty unique, pretty cool, and a different perspective of how we talk about wholesaling, which is pretty cool. So if you guys like it, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, go to freewholesaling.com. Comment below if you want me to keep doing this. This should be on Spotify if you look up Bags to Riches podcast. And pretty cool. Guys, if you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe. See you soon. This is Zach and signing out.
Rick Ginn signing out.
Have a blessed one.
See you guys.
So I heard you can laugh.
It's okay.
It's not weird. It's a podcast.
Okay, I would like to you like that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Come on.
Just serious for this. All right.
And
Sorry.
just go. I'm gonna look.